This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
All right, and welcome to the GSMC Sports Podcast. This episode is brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network, and as always, I am your host, Jesse Tapia. All right, so usually, as you know, or if you've listened to the show before, we usually do the NBA scores and all that, but the NBA has been out of business since about Sunday. All right, won't be back in business till Thursday, so we're going to get smarter. We're going to talk about a bunch of different things. We will be talking about the NBA a little bit today. We'll talk about tanking in the NBA. Mark Cuban just got fined $600,000 by the league for saying that tanking was their best option. So we'll be talking about pretty much just the idea of tanking and all that. We'll be doing that. It's possible we'll talk about Damian Lillard. He made some comments about how he should be known as a top five point guard in the league, and maybe we'll talk about that. We'll talk a bit about the Olympics. Maybe we'll start off with the Olympics in this segment. Not so much. Just give my thoughts on the Olympics so far, pretty much the ratings and all that, and maybe talk about Russian athletes a bit. So maybe we'll get into the Olympics today. Well, we will get into the Olympics today, so that's going to happen. We'll talk about Jarvis Landry getting the franchise tag from the Dolphins, talk about what that means, what could possibly happen after, and pretty much maybe just talk about the Dolphins as a whole with Jarvis Landry, with or without, and stuff like that. So we'll be doing that. And then there's some Champions League going on right now. I think you got Roma playing and Manchester United playing Sevilla, so we'll be talking about those games. So we got a lot going on for today. It's going to be like a sports talk show, all right, instead of just a scores type of thing. Maybe we'll talk about the NCAA too, the basketball. Maybe we'll get into how the season's gone on. But nonetheless, let's talk about the Olympics a bit, okay? Maybe we'll get into tanking in the segment too, or maybe we'll just talk about Damian Lillard. But nonetheless, let's talk about the Olympics right now. Olympics have been going on, and I feel like, I don't know, I feel like there hasn't been enough hype surrounding the Olympics, okay? And I don't know, the Winter Olympics are kind of like a unique thing, okay? Because you got curling, you got figure skating, you got ice dancing. What else do you got? You got the hockey, snowboarding, and some snowboarding. I'm more of a Summer Olympics type of guy, okay? I usually get into that more. I enjoy watching it more just because they got soccer on there, like watching the Mexican team. Usually Brazil sends out some pretty good teams there. Then you got basketball and all the other sports. I like watching track and all that. It's just with the Winter Olympics, I'm not sure if it's just because I'm a California kid. I've never been used to the snow or anything like that, but I don't know. I just can't get into it. And it's not going to be like an Olympics bashing segment or anything like that, but I don't know. It just feels like the Olympics this year, the Winter Olympics this year, just haven't been as hyped or as promoted as they should, all right? Because ESPN's got a section on the Olympics, just for the Olympics. If you click on it, I know Bleacher Report does too. All these other sports sites, they do have sections for the Olympics to where you can go and check and pretty much follow it. But like I said, I just feel like there's not enough video on it. There's not enough time being spent on sports shows and all that talking about it. So I just feel like it's been very undercovered, okay? Just really hasn't been what it probably should be, because it's the Olympics, right? The Olympics should be probably one of the biggest events in the world every 4 years, okay? It should be treated as such, kind of like the World Cup in a way, okay? Because you got all these nations coming in, similar to the World Cup. You got 32 teams coming in. They're going to be changing the World Cup to 48 teams too, I think in 2022 or 2026. Not excited for that, but I guess you could say it's a conversation for a different day. Getting back to, you got all the different nations from different parts of the world coming in. I feel like it should be more of a patriotism type thing, to where I don't know. I just feel like, because with the World Cup, there's a real sense of pride for whatever team you're rooting for. Right? Let's say you're Brazilian, you're Mexican, you're from the United States, German, all those stuff. Right? They get really into it. That's a source. That's pretty much they're playing for you. All right. And I feel like with the Olympics, I don't know. I feel like with the Olympics, it's not the same way there. Right? I didn't feel like the athletes are playing for you, you know? I don't know. It's just kind of different. Just some thoughts that I had that I wanted to start off today's show with, because we usually never do really get into the Olympics too much. We'll mention the medal counts and talk about what's going on for that day, but really just haven't been able to give my thoughts on it yet. But yeah, that's how I feel about it so far. I mean, like I said, the Summer Olympics is fun. I like watching Usain Bolt. I like watching the men's basketball team. I enjoy watching the soccer tournament because it's a lot of the younger players out there. And that's one thing too, right? With the Winter Olympics, I usually, I'd usually get really excited for hockey, okay? And I even feel like with hockey, I haven't been able to get really excited for it because they don't have the NHL players out there, okay? We don't got like Sidney Crosby playing for Team Canada or guys like Joe Pavelski playing for Team USA. I mean, you got TJ Oshie, who pretty much made a name for himself at the Olympics with that crazy shootout that he had. And he went up to like 7 times and scored nearly every time, I think, or something like that. I can't remember exactly. I remember watching it, but yeah, I just can't remember the exact stat from it. But yeah, we're missing guys like that. All right, Noel Ovechkin with Team Russia, and even Russia too. I was looking at the hockey scores and stuff like that for the Olympics, and I see USA, who lost to the Czech Republic in a shootout in the quarterfinal round. Not good for them, but nonetheless, I mean, Czech Republic's advancing. Let's see. Oh yeah, I was checking. They lost 3-2 US in the shootout. Then in the quarterfinal, okay, it was Canada who beat Finland. Germany beat Sweden in overtime, and then there was another team, right? Norway. They were playing a team. And I was looking at the score and on the ESPN Score Center app, and it has like NOR, the abbreviation for Norway. I was like, oh, so Norway played, and then the other abbreviation was OAR. I was like, wait, who is OAR? All right, so I click. I'm looking at the names, stuff like that. I'm like, oh, these look like Russian names. So I search it up on the good old Google machine, and yeah, I did not realize. Well, I knew that Russian athletes, the Russia, the country, I guess you could say, was banned from the Olympics this year. But I did not know that the Russian athletes had like their own little group they could play in, all right? The OAR stands for Olympic Athletes from Russia, okay? And I don't know, that's kind of weird to me. Like, if you're going to ban the country of Russia, why don't you just ban the athletes too, okay? Because I know that Russia doesn't get to be in these Winter Olympics because of like all the doping scandal and stuff like that. Pretty much all of their players were on something during the Olympics, and I think one of them got caught too. And it's pretty much like, oh, like a Russian player got caught, color be surprised or whatever. It's kind of weird how Russia, for some reason, always sends athletes to come compete, but for some reason they still refuse to not give their athletes stuff in order, like performance enhancers, I should say. All right, got a little tongue twisted there, but yeah, it's just kind of weird seeing like they still go and try and do the same thing and like continuously get caught. I think the athlete who got caught with the performance enhancers said that did he use the Barry Bonds excuse? I think he did use the Barry Bonds excuse. Let me see real quick. I think he said that he took it unknowingly, or she. I can't remember exactly what kind of athlete it was. Let's see. I know Pyeongchang, but yeah, it was funny. I think they said, yeah, I took it unknowingly or whatever. And oh yeah, it was a Russian curler. The coach said that he or she was drugged unknowingly. Let me see if I could find out whether or not it was it was a woman's. Yeah, it was a woman. Or was it a man? The women's curling coach said he is convinced. All right. Oh, it was a male. All right, it was a male who unknowingly took the drug. All right. And the coach says that he thinks that happened because it'd be foolish to do so, to take it knowingly, obviously. So, I don't know, we got our first little scandal of the Olympics. All right, has to do with the Russian curler. But nonetheless, I mean, I don't know. The Olympics has been kind of weird this year. Like, I enjoy watching the Olympics, but I just feel like that's one thing where I guess the NHL messed up a bit here, okay? And there's a way where this ties it all. Because I feel like the Olympics, like especially just personally speaking for me, when you got the professional athletes out there, it's more interesting to watch. All right? I guess you could say that's just facts right there, okay? It's more interesting to watch. All right, because you got, like I said, you got Sidney Crosby, you got Joe Pavelski, you got a bunch of other players out there. And it's pretty much just the best of the best going against each other, representing their country. I guess that's where the sense of pride comes a little bit right there, because people care, right? If you have professionals out there, then obviously you have the best of the best out there, right? And people love to argue that whatever they have is better than what someone else has, okay? And I guess that's where it comes in with hockey right there. People from USA will be cheering, saying that their hockey players are better than hockey players from Canada or Russia, right? And that's where you see the interest and intrigue into the Olympic ice hockey tournament, all right? Because you're pretty much trying to see who's got the best professional athletes as far as hockey goes. And I think that's why the Summer Olympics are so big, all right? Because you still got, in basketball, you got the men's USA team where you got guys like LeBron James, James Harden, Paul George, and all those guys out there, all right, going up against teams from Spain, Brazil, and Australia. Australia's going to have a nice little team. Imagine if Kyrie Irving, I don't know if he could have, but I know he's with the Team USA now. But imagine if he's like, oh, I'm going to go play for Austria and stuff. I'm going to represent them. That'd be a pretty nice team, all right? That'd probably be a team that makes it to the gold medal game against the U.S. all the time, just because you got a guy like Kyrie Irving on there. And Australia does have some players out there, so they're producing a lot of good talent. But yeah, going back to the Summer Olympics, even with soccer, though, I like the way they do it, all right? They have the under-23 players out there, but you could have 3 overage players, meaning anyone older than 23. So we'll see some professionals out. These guys are all professionals. It's just pretty much younger players, right? And I guess that's one thing that I like about it too. Is like, yeah, they're young, but they're still pros playing in the big leagues. It's just in the top leagues, it's just they're under 23, right? With the Olympics, they don't really do that. They took away all the NHL players, so you don't have like a situation where you'd be like, oh yeah, just the under 23 people play or whatever. So yeah, you don't have really professionals out there, so it doesn't really bring that much intrigue into it. All right, that's why I don't know. It's just maybe it's like I said, it could go back to the fact that I'm just a California kid and I just enjoy the sun a whole lot more than someone in New York would, I guess, because I'm sure it snows crazy out there in the winter. But getting back to it, I prefer the Summer Olympics over the winter, but the Winter Olympics have been, their ratings are down, but I saw that NBC said that they were expecting this, so I guess it's all right. But yeah, I feel like I was checking the ratings earlier. The ratings have gone down each day, I feel. The Olympics have passed, but we'll see how it all ends up. But yeah, speaking of hockey again, yeah, you got the Olympic athletes from Russia. All right, in the semifinals, I believe they're playing the Czech Republic, who knocked off the United States hockey team. And then you got Canada versus Germany. All right, did not know that Germany was out here producing hockey players. All right, I didn't think that they'd be one of the best, but let me see how the Olympic athletes from Russia, I can't even call them Russia because it's not. That's weird too. If they win, they can't how do you say? They can't go to the podium under the and listen to the Russian national anthem or anything like that. It's going to be the Olympic national song or whatever it's called. So, we'll see how it all ends up. I do think that Russia is going to end up winning this one, or the Olympic athletes from Russia. Right? Yeah, so the Olympic athletes from Russia, actually, I think they're top 7 in medals, right? Because you got Norway with the lead in 33, Germany with 24 total medals, Canada with 21 at number 3, Netherlands at number 4 with 16, tied with the United States, who took the lead over France. All right, so both are tied for 4th with 16 medals. Then you got France with 14 medals, and then the Olympic athletes from Russia with 13 medals. No gold medals yet, but they'll probably end up getting a gold in the men's hockey tournament. All right, so that's all I got to say about the Olympics. Just want to give a couple of thoughts on it. But next up, we're going to be talking about tanking in the NBA. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Are you looking for the very best NFL and college football podcast? Then check out the GSMC Football Podcast. Get the latest football news both on and off the field. From the NFL Draft to trades to the rumor mill to the NFL Combines. They got you covered. That's GSMCpodcast.com/football-podcast. Get updates on college rivalries, game day insights, and much, much more. It's football talk the way you want it. This show eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
All And welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. In that first segment, we pretty much just spent it it's pretty much the first segment was just me giving my thoughts in the Winter Olympics so far. Talked about the NHL players not being in hockey and pretty much talked about how they need to do a better job of promoting it. I feel it's pretty much like the pride factor with the Olympics, all right? Rooting for your nation and all that, rooting for your country and hoping they do well. I feel like that's kind of lacking for this Winter Olympics, all right? So we talked about that. And for this segment, we're going to talk about tanking in the NBA, all right? So Mark Cuban was on Dr. J, Julius Erving's podcast. Yeah, believe it or not, Dr. J has a podcast. I feel like everyone wants to do this whole podcast thing. How about you guys all just back off for a moment? But yeah, Dr. J has a podcast. Had Mark Cuban on there, and Mark Cuban was telling Dr. J about how he told his team that it was in their best interest, pretty much the team's best interest, to tank. All right, let me see if I can find the quotes again. Let me see. There's an article on it. All right, so in May, Mark Cuban said that the Mavericks looked to lose as much as they could at the end of last season once they were out of postseason contention. And then there was a quote of him saying, "I'm probably not supposed to say this, but like I just had dinner with a bunch of our guys the other night, and here we are now, or here we are, you know. We aren't competing for the playoffs. I was like, look, losing is our best option." And let's see, what else did he say? He said, like he acknowledged that he told the team that it would be best for them to lose from for the 2017-2018 season. All right, so yeah, Mark Cuban gets fined $600,000, I think, for Adam Silver called it like comments detrimental to the league or something like that. And I feel like, I don't know, like there's a whole lot I want to unpack about this whole tanking thing. All right, but I feel like what Mark Cuban was saying about how he told his team that'd be in there, like pretty much should be best for them to lose, isn't that like, I might be reaching here, but isn't that like point shaving in a way? Isn't that pretty much losing on purpose? Isn't that like not allowed in sports? All right, or is it like completely different? I understand, like, I guess you'd have to, I don't know, like I said, I'm just trying to unpack this all, so I'm trying to be as clear as I can be, but I'm thinking like, maybe in order for it to be considered like illegal in sports or whatever for you to lose on purpose, you'd have to make a bet. Like maybe that's it. But I kind of feel like I don't know. I feel like telling your team that it's best to lose, and Mark Cuban saying that they pretty much went out and tried to lose. I feel like that's not allowed in sports, or maybe there's just like a loophole type thing there where, I don't know. It's just kind of weird to me for you to go and tell your team, yeah, we should lose. Because, I mean, all right, we got to like do different sections of this whole tanking talk. We're talking a little bit about tanking and the difference from that and rebuilding. All right, I guess we'll talk about tanking and being a bad team already, and maybe we'll get into something else. But let's talk about tanking and being a bad team already. I don't really think that. Well, actually, you know what? Let's get into what tanking is. Okay, so I think tanking in the NBA is pretty much what Mark Cuban said: doing whatever you can to lose. Whether that be sitting your best player, I'm not going to say best players because obviously if you're a bad team, then you are short of good players. So yeah, sitting your best player. All right, and I guess, I don't know, I don't understand. Is it just putting lack of talent out there on purpose? Putting D-leaguers out there on purpose? I mean, because the coaches, I'm sure, and when Mark Cuban says he told his team, I'm not sure if he's saying that he's telling like the front office guys or if he's telling the coaches or if he's telling the players, because that wasn't really specified. I mean, team usually is a word that you pretty much connect to players, but like I said, I mean, he's the owner, so the entire Dallas Mavericks organization is his team, I guess you could say. So I'm not really sure if he was telling his players that it was best to lose, the coaches, or the front office. But I mean, I feel like it'd be hard. Like, what do the coaches do in the situation when they know you're actively trying to tank? All right, like Rick Carlisle. I don't think that Rick Carlisle is a guy who's going to go out and try to lose games by coaching. All right, I just don't think that he's that type of coach. He's going to go out there. He's going to try and run the best game plan and put the best players that he has available to him on the court. But, I mean, Mark Cuban is the owner, so what Mark Cuban says, I guess, goes. And I guess going with the front office, too. I mean, I don't really know how much the front office has a hand in tanking as far as like general managers and stuff like that, because maybe you can go and trade away your best players, but I mean, that'd be like a guy like Harrison Barnes, I guess that would be the Dallas Mavericks best player. Yes, I know Dirk plays on that team, but Dirk is really old. All right, if I had to pick one, I'd take Harrison Barnes over Dirk at this very moment. All right, I'm not talking all-time careers or anything like that. But nonetheless, getting back to it, maybe you said a guy like Harrison, like you tell them to sit a guy like Harrison Barnes, or the front office could trade a guy like him. And this is like just hypothetical, just thinking about tanking stuff. You trade him for a few picks or whatever. Maybe that's what the front office does. But as far as the players go, I mean, I highly doubt that these players are going out and pretty much playing poorly on purpose. All right. I feel like as a player, you owe it to yourself as a professional. Go out and do your job every game in and game out and play your hardest. But I mean, I don't know. It's kind of weird. Like the whole tanking thing is just kind of like this weird little concept. All right. Because, I mean, tanking before the Sixers started doing it, I guess, back in 2011, 2012, it feels like. All right, before they started doing it, I mean, I feel like tanking wasn't really something that we really talked about too much, right? No one really thought about the word tanking or anything. Because, like, the Sixers were the first ones, I feel, to start actually tanking and pretty much not losing on purpose, but doing whatever they could, putting themselves in position to lose as much as they possibly could, all right? Maybe that's just all this is right here. All right, obviously Mark Cuban telling his team that it's best for them to lose, but maybe they're not doing it directly. Mark Cuban is shifting it to where they're in the best position to lose, even though they're trying to go out and win, if that makes any sense. But yeah, getting back to it, I mean, the Sixers were the team, I feel like, who started this whole tanking thing. Pretty much starting 5 D-leaguers at one time. All right, they sat Nerlens Noel for a year. They sat Joel Embiid for a year to heal up their injuries. The Sixers had 5 top 3 picks? Yeah, so let's go. They had Nerlens Noel, Jahlil Okafor, Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, Markelle Fultz. So far, they only hit on 2 of those. The third, which could be Markelle Fultz, is TBD, to be determined, all right? Because we're not sure what's going on in that guy's head. But nonetheless, getting back to it, I mean, the Sixers, they've been taking, all right, so that's about 5 picks. So that's about 5 years worth of picks. What is it? 2017 right now, 2018. So yeah, since about 2012, obviously since you got to count the beginning of the season, which starts the year before the draft. All right. So since about 2012, 2011, they've been actively trying to tank. All right, actively trying to get top picks in the draft in order to build their team that way. And that's one thing I don't get. Okay, this is where the whole bad team and tanking comes into play. If you already have a bad team, why do you try I don't understand the concept of going to try and lose games. You're already going to do that. You're already going to lose games because your team is trash. All right? Like the Hawks, you can't tell me that they're actively trying to tank or whatever because they're just a terrible team. All right? I feel like tanking is where you got to sit your best players and pretty much keep them out for the rest of the season so you do lose games. But I mean, teams like the Hawks, teams like the Magic, they're already bad. Teams like the Kings, I think the Kings are the ones, believe it or not, who are doing it the right way right now. All right, because I'm not even sure that the Kings, that front office, knows how to tank. All right, just because of the fact that they've been so incompetent as far as making moves and trying to build up their team. I just think that they were tanking on accident the last few years, for being real here, all right? Because you did have a guy like Boogie Cousins, but they never sat Boogie Cousins or anything like that. Because I don't know, for some reason they always felt they had a chance at playoffs. But I mean, when you only have one good player on one team, it's not really going to work out. But getting back to the point about the Kings. All right, so I think that the Kings, they're doing it right now, okay? You got a good coach, at least a decent coach. And you got a bunch of young players. I don't think the Kings are trying to tank. I think they're trying to develop right now. All right, if the Kings were to sit De'Aaron Fox, Zach Randolph, Bogdanovich, all those guys, then yeah, I guess that's where they're trying to tank there. But I feel like starting guys like De'Aaron Fox, Bogdanovich, Justin Jackson, and you got Zach Randolph out there, Willie Cauley-Stein. Zach Randolph has pretty much the veteran presence out there. I mean, I don't think you're really trying to tank right there. I think you're trying to develop your players and hope that they get better because the Kings are going to have a top 5 pick. All right, the Kings aren't in a position where they need to sit guys like De'Aaron Fox because they're already a bad team as far as competing. All right, they're still not where they need to be. So teams like the Kings, they're not tanking. I mean, the Grizzlies, I'm not sure if they're trying to tank. I mean, you had Mike Conley who got hurt. Marc Gasol, I feel, was hurt for a couple of times this season. He's still out there. The Grizzlies are just short of good players. That's all it is right there, all right? But as far as the Mavericks go, I mean, you got Dennis Smith Jr., you got Harrison Barnes, you got Dirk, I guess, if you want to throw him out there. You got Wesley Matthews. So, I mean, I guess that's where a team right there is trying to tank because those aren't bad players. All right? You still have good players on that team who can go out and win a few games. So I guess that's where they try to tank there. But now let's talk about the difference between tanking and rebuilding. All right, is there a difference at all? I think so. All right, because let's use 2 instances, all right? One for tanking, one for rebuilding. Yeah, like I said, the same example, the Philadelphia 76ers, right? Continuously put out D-League players in the starting 5, pretty much guys that were never heard of again, all right, to go out and start. And that's how they did their tanking. Weren't trying to make trades or anything like that, all right? Pretty much just trying to lose games in order to get a high draft pick. Then you have the Celtics. When they traded away Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, all right, they got those picks back. That's how the Celtics were the definition of rebuilding. And I guess you could put the Lakers in that same definition too. Unless, when did the Lakers start getting better? Right? Was it right after Kobe retired, or were they already trying to take with Kobe there? All right. I'm not sure. I mean, I guess playing Kobe in that last season out there is basically the same thing as trying to tank, because that dude was brutal in his last season. Absolutely brutal. So I guess that's their way of tanking, having Kobe Bryant play out there for his last season. Getting back to the point about the Celtics, I mean, I think that's what you call a rebuild, okay? Trying to acquire picks and trying to use those picks in order to help you get a better team, and packaging those picks to get better players, all right? Because, I mean, let's see, they used 3 Brooklyn picks. They used 3 of them to draft. All right, they got James Young, Jaylen Brown, and Jason Tatum. Okay, those picks worked out except for the James Young one. They used the other Brooklyn pick from that Nets trade where they got rid of Pierce and Garnett to get Kyrie Irving. They gave up Isaiah Thomas and Jay Crowder and that other dude from Europe. And let's see, what else did they do? They just spent it pretty much just drafting and trying to come up with picks, right? They weren't trying to actively lose on purpose. Are you bringing a guy like Brad Stevens to help build up the team? So the Celtics are, I guess that's what a rebuild is, what they've done since 2012, 2013. The Sixers, I guess, like you said, are the definition of a real tank. Okay, so that's what it is there. And as far as what the league can do as far as tanking goes, I mean, I'm not really sure there is like anything you can do, all right? You can't find teams for benching players, I feel, and you can't find teams for being bad. All right. I remember last year, in the last couple of years, actually, this year really hasn't been much of a problem, but there was a little problem with the best teams in the league benching their star players for big games, all right, for rest. I'm not sure that Adam Silver ever fined anyone, but I don't really agree with that either. I don't really agree with the fact that people get mad when players get benched from the best teams, all right? The best players from the best teams get benched, okay? When my argument with that was always, you're not paying to see LeBron James, okay? That's not what the ticket says. You're paying to go see the Cleveland Cavaliers and whatever they put out. You're paying to see the team play. You don't pay individually, or you don't pay to watch a player individually. That's not how it works. So I feel like the whole, we're paying hard money to see the best players play. No, you're paying hard money to see the teams play, all right? So I never really liked the argument there. I felt like it was more entitled type of thing. But as far as like the tanking goes, I mean, you can't really get mad at teams for benching their good player or their above average player in order to get a better draft spot. All right, I don't really agree with tanking. I just feel like you play it like it's pretty much a cycle, all right? Because there's going to be a time where the Cavs are a really bad team. There's going to be a time where the Celtics are a really bad team. Heck, there's even going to be a time a few years from now where the Warriors are going to be a bad team. All right, it's all just a cycle. So I feel like you got to let it happen organically, all right? If your team's window is closed, then it's time to pretty much trade away what you have left in order to build up a little foundation of picks and stuff like that, kind of like what the Celtics did, okay? But as far as like Adam Silver finding teams, like I don't really think you could stop tanking. All right, I know they tried switching up the draft lottery and pretty much giving off the opinion or the idea that trying to lose to get the best pick isn't the way to go, because I think the teams with the 3 worst teams with the worst records, I think all have a certain chance of getting the first pick. So, I mean, it's pretty even there. But, I mean, you can't really go and you can't tell a team, hey, stop losing, all right? I just don't think there's a way to limit or stop tanking. I just think it's something that is here and teams are going to continue to do it, because I feel like it'd be unprecedented for Adam Silver to go and find teams like that for benching players. And like I said, I mean, it's kind of like a slippery slope type of thing. Like pretty much, I don't know. It's kind of weird because you're seeing, like I said, going back to Mark Cuban said, he's going telling his team that it'd be best for them to lose. Like, how is that not changing the outcomes of games? All right, and I guess that matters more. Did he tell the players or did he tell the front office or the coaches? But either way, I feel like if you're telling the coaches or the players it's best to go out and lose games, then I feel like that does have an effect on the outcome of a game, right? Because the coach or players are actively trying to lose, I guess you could say. But I don't know. It's just I got to do more research on it, pretty much pay attention to it more. But the whole idea of like just the whole tanking in the NBA, I feel, is just something that's not really going to go away unless the league like just truly makes the lottery, pretty much makes the lottery to a point where any team, like if you're in the lottery, you have any chance that the worst team in the league has to get the first pick. All right, I feel like that's how you do it. You're just a bad team. If you're just a bad team and you have like a bad record, but not as bad as the other 5 worst teams in the league, then you still have an equal chance to get that first pick rather than the team with the worst record in the league has more ping pong balls or whatever and a better chance to get that first pick. So I think that's the way you go about it, but I just don't think that's going to happen. So I don't know. We'll see this, like pretty much how tanking all plays out, because it's going to be an interesting last part of the season as far as tanking goes. You got like 3 teams with 18 wins, and then you got like 6 teams I think that are under 20 wins. So they're all going to be trying to fight for that worst record in the league, I guess. So I guess we'll take it from here, see how those teams play, what their methods are as far as tanking, and I guess come up with better solutions and pretty much try and understand it more. But that's all I got to say about that. Next up, we're going to be doing some NFL, talking about Jarvis Landry getting franchise tags, see if anything else is going on in the league. So stay tuned and we'll be right back.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA. From the UFC to extreme cage fighting, they got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Right, and welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. Today we've talked about tanking in the NBA. We talked about the Olympics in the first segment. Actually spent a whole segment on the Olympics, right? Didn't really get into too much like the results and stuff like that. I just spent the segment giving my thoughts on the Olympics, okay? So we did that, gave my thoughts on tanking pretty much. Did a little section by section type of thing on it. And for this segment, we're going to be getting to NFL news, okay? Talking about anything going on in the NFL right now. All right, so let's get it going. One thing I want to say, I really enjoy doing this. I got my feet propped up on the chair right here just talking. It's a fun job to do. All right, but let's talk NFL now, okay? So Jarvis Landry yesterday got the franchise tag from Miami. As of right now, they are on the hook for paying him $16 million this year, okay? If you've been paying attention to it, Jarvis Landry and the Miami Dolphins have been trying to work out a deal, a long-term extension. I think I read from one of the Miami Herald writers that Miami hasn't offered him a new deal in 2.5 months. Not sure how true it is, but that's what he said. All right, so they're trying to work out a deal or whatever, but what does this franchise tag mean? Okay, like I said, what it means right now, as of right now, the Miami Dolphins will be paying Jarvis Landry $16 million for this year. All right, but they signed him, gave him the non-exclusive franchise tag, which means that other teams can negotiate with Jarvis Landry. All right, the Dolphins have the opportunity to where if a team negotiates, reaches a deal with him, that the Dolphins can either match that offer. I think, is that how it goes? No, I think if a team wants... All right, no, that's wrong. That was wrong. I apologize. All right, I think it's this way. If a team wants Jarvis Landry, they have the opportunity to trade for him, but you have to give up 2 first-round picks in order to get Jarvis Landry to your team. All right, I think it might be to where you can negotiate with him, and I think it's up to Miami on if they want to match his deal, or if you want him, then it's either like, I know if Jarvis Landry does go to a different team. All right, yeah, so no, I was wrong. All right, getting back to it, it's a team could trade for him, but if you're going to trade for him, that's two first-round picks, plus you still got to work out a deal. All right. Plus, you got to pay him the $16 million, not Miami. So yeah, you try and trade for him, you get you got to give up 2 first-round picks. Okay. So there's that for Miami. That's one of their options. Trade him and get 2 first-round picks, I should say. All right. Then they could obviously work out a long-term extension with him still and get that done. Or they could just say, you know what? We're just gonna have him play with us for under this. If they don't work out a deal, he plays with them for this 1 year, and then after that, he's a free agent. All right. And I saw Omar Kelly, writer for the Sun Sentinel, say that. What did he say? He said that. Oh yeah, he said that Jarvis Landry would play under the franchise tag. He has no problem doing that. All right. So either way, Jarvis Landry will be playing football, possibly for the Miami Dolphins, unless they trade him for 2 first-round picks. So let's talk about that. Is there any team out there that would give up 2 first-round picks for Jarvis Landry? Because I've been seeing too with writers saying that Miami's plan is to try and trade him. But it got me thinking, who is going to give up 2 first-round picks for Jarvis Landry? I feel like he's really undervalued in the league right now just because of his receiving yards numbers, okay? And the fact that he plays in the slot. People look to that, oh, he plays in the slot and he doesn't have too many receiving yards or anything like that. I mean, usually he has around a little bit more than 100 catches per year and a little less than 1,000 yards, all right? But nonetheless, getting back to it, people are saying, who's going to give up 2 first-round picks for Jarvis Landry? I don't see any team doing that unless maybe you're a Cleveland Browns team where you do have a bunch of first-round picks, a bunch of picks in the next few years. Obviously, the Browns wouldn't be giving up the first pick or anything like that. Probably would have to give up I don't know how that works. Would the Browns just have to give up the 4th pick this year and the 1st-round pick next year for Jarvis Landry? I mean, maybe that could happen. And I know the team like the Baltimore Ravens, they were trying to trade for Jarvis Landry at the deadline this past season, so maybe that's an option there. The Bears are a team who could give up a couple of first-round picks for Jarvis Landry because I know they're really thin at wide receiver. I don't really see the San Francisco 49ers being a team who does that. So, I mean, so right now it's pretty interesting to see how this will all play out because, like I said, the word around the Twitter sphere with all these NFL writers was that Miami's going to be looking to trade Jarvis Landry, all right, in order to get those 2 first-round picks. But like I said, I just don't see how that happens because I'm not sure who's giving up 2 first-round picks for a quote-unquote slot receiver who can't average more than 1,000 yards a season, all right? Would I give up 2 first-round picks for Jarvis Landry? Probably not, but that's not going out to say that I wouldn't pay him $14 million a year. All right, people compare him to Danny Amendola and all the other slot receivers in this league, but I'll tell you this much, Jarvis Landry is 10 times better than any slot receiver in this league, okay? People I just feel don't watch him enough to understand what he brings to the table, all right? People just stat watch and that's it. They don't look at the fact that he's a great route runner. He doesn't drop the ball. He can score you touchdowns and do all the other stuff you need a receiver to do. Just because he doesn't run a go route all the time, a deep route or anything like that, doesn't mean that he's not a receiver who deserves to get paid like that, all right? Like I say, you don't pay a guy what he's worth, what you think he's worth, you pay him what the market says he's worth, all right? The market says that he should be getting around $13 to $14 million a year. All right, I think the Dolphins offered him, in their last contract offer, was $13 million a year. And personally, I think that you should give him $14 a year because like I always say, all right, these are the 2 players I compare him to. You got Demaryius Thomas, you got T.Y. Hilton. T.Y. Hilton is making 13, Demaryius Thomas is making 14. If you check the stats, Jarvis Landry's has been better the last couple of years, all right? So I say you give Jarvis Landry 14. I think 15 is pushing it and 16 is too much, all right? There's no way that he's getting $16 million a year. I don't even think that Julio Jones is getting $16 million a year. I'd have to double check, but nonetheless, getting back to it, I mean, you're going to have to pay the guy or, like, I just don't see I think it comes down to this, all right? It's either going to be Miami extends him or they end up trading him. I don't see how they keep him for 1 more year, pay him for $16 million, and then let him walk after that, all right? I just think that can't happen. So you either got to pay the guy what he wants or at least come to the middle and compromise, or you got to trade him. And like I said, if Miami trades Jarvis Landry, gets 2 first-round picks out of it, then Miami made the right move, okay? Personally, I'd like to see them extend him because I think with that offense right now, the offense gets a whole lot worse with him not there, okay? And there's been rumors about how Miami has inquired about Martavis Bryant, possibly thinking about giving up Devontae Parker for a player like him. I think that'd be a great move for Miami, all right? Because Devontae Parker really just has not been the receiver I'm sure they hoped he'd be. All right, they drafted him in 2015, drafted him in the first round with the 15th pick, and the dude can't stay on the field, and when he's on the field, he doesn't really produce. So I think if you could get a guy with the talent of Martavis Bryant, and I do think that Martavis Bryant is miles better of Devontae Parker, but I just think that the Steelers really don't have any room for a guy like Martavis Bryant on that team anymore. So I think if the Steelers, you give up maybe Devontae Parker, a 5th or 6th round pick for a guy like Martavis Bryant, or maybe get a pick from them and Martavis, then I think if you're Miami, you do that completely, okay? Because like I said, Devontae Parker just really isn't what they expected him to be, just hasn't turned out to be the player they expected him to be. But as far as Jarvis Landry goes, like I said, I mean, I doubt that they just have him play under the franchise tag and let him walk next year. I don't know, maybe you could franchise him again next year, do the old Kirk Cousins thing, but I doubt they do that because that's going to cost way too much money. So it's either you extend him or a team's going to be trading for him. I guess we're just going to have to wait and see. I'm sure it'll happen before the draft, possibly happen before free agency or during free agency. So we're just going to have to wait and see how that all ends up. But that's all I got to say about that. Moving on. All right, Andrew Luck said that the ship has sailed on him getting his another shoulder surgery. So what does that mean? That means that he is currently still throwing. He's throwing right now. He's starting to throw. Okay, and he's not getting surgery. That is good news. All right, that is great news. Okay, because with Andrew Luck not getting surgery again, that means he, like I said, go back to throwing the ball, go back to practicing, and pretty much waiting for that shoulder to completely heal up. All right, Frank Reich, the head coach for the Colts, said that he's hopeful that Andrew Luck could be with the team during workouts in the spring or April, whenever it is, the offseason workouts. Okay, if you got Andrew Luck out there for the workouts, then I think that there's a good chance, I think, that Andrew Luck is out there week 1 for the Indianapolis Colts. And I think that's huge. If Indianapolis, let's say before the draft, gets a sense of where Andrew Luck's going to be, if he's going to be ready for week 1 and all that, then I say you go and you get Saquon Barkley. And I think you get Saquon Barkley either way, regardless, okay, whether or not Andrew Luck is out there or not for week 1. All right, because you know at the quarterback, like picking number 3, yeah, they're picking number 3. All right, they're there. You don't need to draft a quarterback, okay? And I think that if you want to go and draft a guy like Bradley Chubb, why don't you just trade back that 3rd pick with the Broncos, who have the 5th pick, I believe. Yeah, the 5th pick, or a team like the Jets who has the 6th pick, trade back there. All right, I'm sure you can still get a guy like Bradley Chubb there, because I'm sure the Browns, they're going to be taking a quarterback unless they somehow get Kirk Cousins in free agency. They're going to be taking a quarterback at number 1 and then probably Minkah Fitzpatrick at number 4. All right, the Giants, I'm sure they're going to be taking a quarterback at number 2. Then, like I said, you trade that number 3 pick to the Denver Broncos, who need a quarterback, or the Jets, because one of them is going to end up with Kirk Cousins, whether it be the Browns, the Jets, or the Broncos. All right, so one of them is going to end up with Kirk Cousins. Say that the Browns end up with Kirk Cousins. All right, then you trade that pick with the Broncos in order for them to get the guy they want at number 3, and you can still take Chubb there if you're not planning on taking Barkley. But if you're planning on taking Barkley, you take him at number 3, I feel, because that's going to elevate your offense. You already have T.Y. Hilton out there. It's looking like I think they're not going to bring back Frank Gore for this season. I saw that on Twitter. All right, so I mean, if you're not bringing back Frank Gore, obviously that means you need a new starting running back. So I think that, and also with the comments that Frank Reich made at his press conference saying that they want to run a multiple attack offense, obviously that means run the ball and throw the ball. So I think that with them not bringing Frank Gore back, and pretty much with what the coach said, I feel like that's writing on the wall for, yeah, we're getting Saquon Barkley. So we'll see where it all ends up there, but that's news right there. Let's see anything else going on. Maybe we'll just push it over to the next segment. All right, we'll talk about Adam Vinatieri a bit in the next segment. So yeah, that's going to wrap it up for this one. Stay tuned for the next, and we'll be right back.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red-hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's GSMCpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
GSMC Sports Podcast. So far today, what have we talked about? We've talked about the Olympics. We talked about tanking in the NBA. We talked about Jarvis Landry getting the franchise tag. Talked about Andrew Luck, how he's not going to need surgery again on that shoulder. And for this segment, as you always know, we pretty much talk about anything else going on in the world of sports. Or anything that's rolling through my mind. And let me tell you what's rolling through my mind, okay? Adam Vinatieri, when you think of Adam Vinatieri, do you think of him as a Patriot or as an Indianapolis Colt? All right, I think of him, when I hear Adam Vinatieri, I think of him in a Patriots uniform, not with the Colts, even though he's been there for quite some time, all right? I always figured that he was going to retire as a Patriot. Made most of his pretty much moments there and all that. Did not realize that Adam Vinatieri has been around with the Colts longer than he was ever with the Patriots. All right, that is something that was brought to my attention, and that is something that was new to me that I never knew. All right, did not know that Adam Vinatieri has been around so long to where he's already played more years with the Colts than he did with the Patriots. That's just crazy to think about for me. It's just something I feel like no one's ever thought about. All right, Adam Vinatieri, like I said, most of us, or at least I do, think of him as a New England Patriot. But I mean, the dude spent 12 seasons in Indianapolis. He's only spent 10 in New England. All right, he's coming back for another season too, so that'll be 13 seasons in Indianapolis. That's just crazy to think about. And Adam Vinatieri's been around for so long. The dude's been around since I was born. All right, started his career in '96. That's when I was born. Crazy just to think about. He's 22, 23 years and of an NFL career, and he's probably going to end up in the Hall of Fame too. So I mean, that's just crazy to think about. Just the fact that Adam Vinatieri's been with the Colts longer than he has with the Patriots. Just something that you never really thought about, but the more you know. All right, so yeah, it's just one thing that caught my mind. I mean, we got Champions League that went on today. You had Manchester United tying Sevilla 0-0, and then you had Shakhtar beating Roma 2-1. All right, a little bit surprised that Shakhtar winning, but nonetheless, I mean, Manchester United really need to figure out what their problems are right now. All right, because it looks like Jose Mourinho and Paul Pogba are having a few differences, and that's not good. Okay, not good at all. They paid over $100 million for Pogba, and they're going to need to figure it out, especially Jose Mourinho, okay? Because I feel like Jose Mourinho's always been a stubborn coach, all right? You play to his style, you listen to what he does, all right? But I think that Jose Mourinho might be the problem here, okay? I feel like you got to cater to your players, and you got to understand, like the Steve Kerr thing, all right? Realize that it's not your team, it's the players' team, and you'll be fine. But I don't think Jose Mourinho's ever going to realize that, and I think he's just too stubborn to. So, Manchester United, I mean, you should be beating teams like Sevilla. They should be winning, all right? It's Manchester United. Manchester United really hasn't been the same since Alex Ferguson left, all right? They went through David Moyes, Louis van Gaal, and then I think Ryan Giggs was the interim coach for a tiny bit. Let's see. Then I think went after Van Gaal, went just Mourinho, all right? With Mourinho, I mean, they've been competitive, but they still haven't won the league. All right, haven't won the league since Ferguson left. So maybe it's just Ferguson was that good of a coach, and Manchester United just isn't going to return to what they once were, or I don't know. They got to figure it out though, because this is honestly kind of embarrassing for them. All right, they do not want to be the first English team to get knocked out in the Champions League, right? Because I think you still got Liverpool out there, you still got Manchester City, you still got Chelsea, and you still got Tottenham. Tottenham and Chelsea both tied, but can very well advance. Tottenham just pretty much needs a goal at Wembley in order for them to advance. They score 2, and it's pretty much over for Juventus unless they score 2 also. And as far as Chelsea goes, I mean, you just need to get 1 goal in Barcelona and hope for the best out there. All right, as for Manchester City and Liverpool, they're going to be advancing. And City's up 4-0 right now in aggregate, and Liverpool's up 5-0. So I don't really think they have anything to worry about. Manchester United have something to worry about because, yeah, they play good defense, but they don't score goals at all. All right, and I think they were the home team today, so I guess it works out better for them since they'll be on the road against Sevilla in their next time these two meet. I think in a couple of weeks or whatever. But either way, getting back to it, I mean, Manchester United's really got to figure it out, all right? Soccer's a whole lot better when Manchester United is at the top. I mean, one of the richest football clubs in the world, so we'll see if they're able to figure it out. But that's how the Champions League went on today. Let me see if I could find out when the next Champions League games are. I'm not sure if it's next week or we still got to wait a couple more weeks in order to get there, all right? Because I'm really looking forward to that Tottenham-Juventus game again. Looking forward to watching Chelsea and Barca play in that second game. Let's see if I could find out right here. All right, so Tuesday, March 6th, that is when it's back. All right, so March 6th, that's, what is it, a couple weeks from now? Yeah, so 2 weeks from now is when Champions League will be back. March 6th, you got PSG playing Madrid. Madrid's up 3-1. Then you got Liverpool versus Porto. Liverpool's up 5-0. Then Wednesday, March 7th, is we got Tottenham playing Juventus and Manchester City playing in their game. Tuesday, March 13th, you got United playing Sevilla again. Then you got Shakhtar playing Roma. And then Wednesday, March 14th, you got Bayern Munich playing their game. And then you got Barca playing Chelsea after that too. All right, so I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. Let me see who I'd pick to advance. I'm going to say Madrid advances, Liverpool advances, Tottenham advances, Manchester City advances. I'm going to go United advances. I'll go Shakhtar advances, Bayern Munich advances, and then Barcelona advances. All right, so those are my picks: Barca, Munich, Shakhtar, United, City, Tottenham, Liverpool, and Madrid. Those would be fun. It'll be a lot of fun games there. All right, so hopefully it ends up that way. It'd be kind of interesting to see, too, if all 5 English teams can make it out. Let's see, we got 5? Yeah, we got 5 teams. So we'll see about that. That's how Champions League goes. And then we're going to finish up the show talking about Damian Lillard's comments, all right? Damian Lillard told, I can't remember who he was doing his interview with. I think it was with Rachel Nichols, and he was talking about how he is a top 5 point guard and should be regarded as such, all right? Is Damian Lillard a top 5 point guard? Let me name off my head already. Point guards better than him: Steph Curry, Russell Westbrook. I'll say Kyrie Irving, John Wall. Let's see. Am I missing anyone? I think I might be possibly. All right, so that's 4. Damian Lillard could very well be the 5th best point guard in the league. All right, I'll take him over Kemba. Let's go division by division. All right, so the Celtics, I named Kyrie. There's Kyle Lowry, but I'll take Damian Lillard over him. Do we consider Ben Simmons a point guard yet? That's the position he's playing at, but I still don't think he's top 5 or anything like that. All right, let's see. Knicks don't really have anyone. I mean, they got Ntilikina, but he's still young. Yeah, Boudier's still young, but won't ever crack that top 5, I don't think, at least. Chicago Bulls, no. Cleveland, no. Detroit, no. Indiana, no. Milwaukee, no. Atlanta, definitely not. Charlotte, no. Dragic is good, but he's not better than Lillard. Washington, I said John Wall was better. All right, we talked about Steph Curry. Lonzo Ball, definitely not better. Sacramento, don't even need to talk about them. Dallas, no. Houston, Chris Paul, is he better than Damian Lillard? I don't know. That's tough. I don't know. Chris Paul, we'll leave him on hold right there. Memphis, no. New Orleans, no. San Antonio, no. Denver, no. Minnesota, no. We already talked about Westbrook. Then there's Lillard in Portland, and then you got Ricky Rubio at Utah, but that dude does not come close to top 5. All right, so I guess that Lillard is right there at 5 if it's not Chris Paul. Okay, and I feel like I'm more inclined to say that is Chris Paul better than Damian Lillard right now. All right, people are gonna get mad for me saying John Wall, but when he's out there, he's one of the best in the league. So it is what it is. Get over it. But nonetheless, I mean, is Chris Paul better than Damian Lillard? That's the number 5 spot right there. All right. And I'm not sure. Okay, because Chris Paul, I feel, is more of a facilitator, and Damian Lillard is a score-first point guard, all right? And that's not trying to knock Damian Lillard or anything like that. But, I mean, I feel like Chris Paul is more of a true point guard. I don't know. This is tough. It's like, because it's like, Damian Lillard is the best player on his team, but he's not much of a... He's not like the guy that makes everyone around him better, I don't think. All right, because the Portland Trailblazers usually make the playoffs year in, year out, but, I mean, they don't really do much. They get bounced in the first round. Usually they'll get lucky if they make it to the Eastern Conference semis. All right, so, I mean, I don't know. That's the ultimate discussion right there. Who's better, Chris Paul or is it Damian Lillard? I think I got to go with Chris Paul. All right. I don't know. This is tough. This is a tough debate to end the segment on. I need someone to debate here. All right. If you follow the social media account, I think it's at GSMC Sports. Tweet at it. Let us know who you think the better point guard is. But let's go. I got to make a decision. Do I think Damian Lillard is better or Chris Paul? I'm really stuck on this one too. Like, I'm truly thinking about it as I'm talking. I have no clue who I'd take. Chris Paul, like, it depends, I guess, what kind of team I have. If I have a team that I need my point guard to make them better, I'm going Chris Paul. 5 good players, and I know Damian Lillard is going to be able to, I don't know, Damian Lillard, does he make players around him better? I got to go Chris Paul, I think. That's the way I'm leaning. I'm going Chris Paul. Yeah, I'm going with Chris Paul as the 5th best point guard in the league, so I'd say Damian Lillard is right there at number 6. But you could make the argument that Damian Lillard could be the 5th best and better than Chris Paul. But I do think that Kyrie, John Wall, Russell Westbrook, and Steph Curry are all better than Chris Paul or Damian Lillard. So I guess that's where we'll end it right there. Maybe think about it more, talk about it a little bit more tomorrow for the 4th segment. Who knows? But nonetheless, that's going to wrap it up for today's show. Today we talked about the Olympics. We talked about tanking in the NBA. We talked about, what else we talk about? We talked about the NFL, Jarvis Landry getting franchise tagged. And for this segment, we talked Champions League a bit. We talked, what else we talked about? I know we talked about something else before that. Oh yeah, Adam Vinatieri's been with the Colts longer than he's been with the Patriots, and we talked a little bit about Damian Lillard and him being a top 5 point guard in the league. So thanks for listening to the GSMC Sports Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Jesse Tapia. We'll be back tomorrow, so stay tuned, and we'll talk to you later.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.